Hey friends, welcome to this Bake With Me video. In this frame, I started by making my crust. It's actually really early in the morning and I normally love to do it the day before, but there was just a lot going on and I'd rather sleep than stay up late to make my crust, so I decided to just get it over with the next morning. The ingredients for the crust I use is just vegetable shortening, butter, salt, flour, and water. That is all. As you can see, I am done with the crust and I placed it in the fridge so it can rest. I moved on to making my filling. This is going to be, of course, a blueberry pie. I put a cup of blueberries and 3/4 of a cup of sugar. I am mixing for a little bit, just on simmer, so that they are combined and the sugar melts a little bit. Also, I would have loved to do this the night before, just so that I can get to baking in the mornings, but like I said, that doesn't always happen and that's okay. As of right now, I am adding the water in the cornstarch. This will actually help the blueberries, the cup of blueberries, get a more jelly consistency so my pie is not completely runny. This cup of blueberries will later on be remixed with 3 more cups of blueberries and a squeeze of lime and a couple of other condiments to make it taste delicious. This filling will also sit in the counter for a couple of hours before I even get to use it for the pie. That's why I'm doing this so early in the morning. And by the way, I have already worked out and meditated before I even started making the pie. Nope, I did not just get up and start baking. I just wanted to throw that out there. Also, my daughter Lemon is awake somewhere in there, just hanging out. But yeah, let's keep going. Alright, so I am about to pour the cornstarch and water mix, and it actually does not take very long before it starts becoming more jelly consistency, and that is exactly what I want at this point. I believe I turned the heat up a little bit more because I was simmering the sugar in the blueberries and I actually want it to boil now. And look at that. That's beautiful right there. Yes, so after this, I'm gonna, like I said, let it sit, do some cleaning, do some dishes, feed the girls, and do all the things that I have to do during the day. And after a couple of hours, I will get back to it. Alright guys, so it's actually been probably around 3 hours. I have already cleaned my house, and at this moment Lemon is eating lunch and I'm getting my filling ready. I am mixing my cup of blueberries mix into jelly, and I am adding it to my actual whole blueberries. I believe I did 2 cups of blueberries here, and at the later I end up adding more because it wasn't enough. My pie dish is a little bit deeper. I am adding some butter, some lime juice, nutmeg, and cinnamon, and I am just mixing them all up and getting it ready to throw inside the pie. And here comes my favorite part. It is playing with the dough. So I actually tried this new tactic this time around where I wanted to roll it while it was still in the parchment paper, and it was a complete fail. It just didn't work for me. I like straight to the counter better. It just, I don't know, it's just a lot easier for me. So my dough has been rolled and it is ready to be put in the dish. Like I said, look at that dish. That dish is like a tiny pool. It's perfect for apple pie because apple pies, the apples are a lot bigger, but when it comes to smaller fruit like blueberries, it was just really big. I had to actually add a cup or a cup and a half more than what the filling recipe called for, which was 3 cups of blueberries. And yeah, look at all that padding. Adding the blueberry filling. There's that chunk of butter. I believe it's probably around 2 tablespoons. I guess I'm going to post the recipe of the filling and the crust below on the notes. When decorating my pies, I always draw the image of what I want on it on a piece of paper, as you can tell, and then I go on and cut it. So that is like my kind of like my cookie cutter, except that it's not as simple. I actually have to go in and cut them all myself. But yeah, this is what makes the pies fun. I love doing this. This is gonna be just a bunch of blueberries on top of it, and yeah, super simple. With my other half of the crust, I divide that also in half. So half of it, it's going to be used as the top crust of my pie, and the chunk left over I use for the actual decorating part, which would be the blueberries in this case, and the braid on the edge of the pie. Um, I this recipe of crust that I'm working with is for 2 10-inch, and my pie dish is a 9-inch, so there's always a little bit of extra, and that's what I work with when it comes to the decorations. Honestly, this is, like I've said before, probably the best part for me about making pie. I just really enjoy making um, blueberries or toadstools or basically anything that I can think of. And it is super simple. It just adds such a good touch. Right here, I'm just cutting the blueberries from the crust, and I know that this is probably cringy for a lot of people, but I am going super soft on my butcher block. I have done this before and there are no scratches on there, so we're good. Don't worry, there are no scratches left behind. For the braid, I go ahead and cut a strip of paper of whatever size I want my braids to be. If I want them to be thicker or if I want them to be thinner, depends on the size. And I use that as my guide so that my braids look similar. I know a lot of people use rulers, and a lot of people use other tools. I mean, a piece of paper works for me. If the paper was already there. And yeah, that's what I use. I actually really also enjoy making the braids. I think that it is so much fun making them. And it actually is really just as simple as it looks. If you've never done one, I suggest you give it a try. So I am only doing 2 partial braids because I don't want the whole pie to be braided on the edge. I actually was just playing around. I like to do that a lot. I like to experiment a lot, even if I'm recording. It's okay with me to fail. And I actually haven't done this before, and I thought, hey, I just want to try something else, mix my edges up. So I probably could have gotten more braid out of the remaining of the crust that I had left over, but I purposely chose not to because I wanted to try to do another effect on the edge. I just thought it would, I don't know, expand my creativity, think outside the box a little bit, and that's normally how my brain works. It just, at the moment of making something, it starts making decisions, and I just go with it. So I would put, I'm putting the braid on top and on the bottom of the pie, and as you can see, I am going to be getting a fork and making basically the easiest thing to do when it comes to pie crust. You, I guess the fork making imprints on the sides to where there is no braid on it, and I really just really ended up liking how this looks. Like I said, I haven't done this one before, but I really enjoyed it. So I'd probably be incorporating this a little bit more now. It's just beautiful. Okay, so when it comes to coloring the blueberries, or anything really that I choose to apply on the pie, I use food coloring, and it is the best. It looks good on the blueberry as it is, but when it's actually baked, it gets this sheen, and the first time I did it, I was actually kind of shocked at the fact that I thought it was gonna look best uncooked, and after I cooked the pie, it looked better. So yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite things to do. Here I am applying the blueberries on the pie and just kind of having fun. I chose to also cut some leaves from the leftover dough, just to add a little bit more decoration, kind of break apart a couple of blueberries because it was a lot of them, and also coloring them with green food coloring. You can use the liquid or the gel. I don't have a preference for either or. Some people say that the gel, it's best with the color or the tint, but to me I mean, I don't see that big of a difference. So yeah, I don't think either or, you don't have to pick one. I had both, so I work with both. And yeah, I'm about to add the leaves, and I just really, at this point, I just really like where it's going. And yeah, what do you guys think? is done. I'm gonna go ahead and do a coat of egg wash. And I'm gonna do a double layer of foil paper on top of it because it will be in the oven for 55 minutes at 375. I don't want it to get burnt. And after that, I'm gonna go ahead and let it rest for around 5 hours so the blueberries are not extremely runny. But yeah, I'll get to that and I'll show you guys. For applying the egg wash, this is actually the first time I've ever done it on my pies. I mean, you learn something new every day. I just didn't think it was needed in the past, I guess. But like I said, I felt like experimenting with this one and I did it and I actually really enjoyed it. However, immediately after I started applying it, I realized that I couldn't do it on the blueberries because the food coloring was gonna smear all over the place. So I just opted out from putting them in the blueberries and really I just did the edges and it was fine. And then it was baking time. This beauty, it has been baking for about 45 minutes and it did have foil on top to prevent from burning so quickly because it's in there for 55 minutes. I had already removed the foil, so it was in the last 10 minutes. And hours passed by, we let it rest, and it is time to cut into it. Greta and I are just extremely excited. We are about to find out if the blueberries have set enough and hoping that it is not too runny. So yeah, super excited. It turns out absolutely great. It's fantastic. This pie, by the way, has already been eaten, like I said, and it was delicious. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I'll see you guys next time.